All right, welcome back to our coverage of the Union Budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman at 11 a.m. in the Parliament. And of course, it's being talked about, particularly the CAPEX push that's coming in from the government, essentially the heavy lifting being done by the government. And we are being joined by a new panel of guests. Of course, Deepthi continues to be with us. Joining us now, C.S. Sudhir, founder, Freedom App, live from Bengaluru, Keshav Bhajanka, Executive Director, Century Ply, live from Kolkata, Vikas Nahar, founder, Happilo, live from Bengaluru. And if I could ask my first question to Mahendra Shah, Chairman and Managing Director, VTrans Logistics. Very good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You know, we have been talking about this capital expenditure push of the government, which is in fact the showpiece of this budget, apart from various allocations and focus areas like green energy, among other things. You think for logistics, since you represent that sector, there are some takeaways for you?
Yeah, definitely. See, because budget and before budget also, there's a lot of focus on logistics, meaning thereby NLP and National Logistic Policy, Gati Shakti, everything is to give boost to the logistic industry and reduce the logistic cost. You know, that's the cornerstone of this government. And all this, even though there is no direct benefit being seen here, but the boost to infrastructure and boost to green energy, batteries, EV, everything, you know, is long term is going to benefit our industry to a great extent. MSMEs are a backbone of any logistic industry, and any support to them will directly benefit to the logistic industry. So, by and large, there are no additional taxes, but there are indirect lot of benefits being seen over here right now.
Right. Deepthi.
Okay, Abhishek, let's also get in Mr. Keshav. Now, Mr. Keshav, how do you read into, the big push that has gone in, particularly for the tourism sector, for the green growth sector, also for industries like yours? You know, this has been the government that has been saying we need to push a lot of this consumption. Now, what was your wish list before the budget, and how much of that has been ticked by the big announcements that have come in through the Finance Minister today?
Good afternoon. I think, we had hoped that the government would continue on the path of capital expenditure because that had boosted the entire economy over the course of the last year. And the step taken by the government to increase capital expenditure to 10 lakh crores, I think has been a monumental step. It is something for the long term. It is something that should drive India towards a $10 trillion economy. And I think it was highly required. And I'm very happy the government has taken this step. Alongside that, the government has also increased the expenditure on the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which is something that will benefit the entire real estate sector.
Yes.
And as a result, the wood panel industry as well. Lastly, the reduction or the change in slabs for income tax should increase disposable income in the hands of consumers. And I'm sure that this will also boost a lot of industries, including ours.
All right. We also have Vikas Nahar. Vikas, since you are from Happilo and I do get some Happilo stuff home, your takeaways for the food industry and particular focus on the millets, for example, you think there are other aspects also which might have been missed in the budget speech, but they are there in the budget if you have got some of them. Can you tell us what's good, what's not for the industry that you represent?
No, I think it has been a great budget overall. If you look at the positives, I think the credit guarantee scheme, which the government has extended, which will add a lot of might to the startups who want collateral-free loans. And in terms of boosting the millet industry, because we also make a lot of dry fruit bread products, we also use some millets. So promoting millets and focusing more on the research, because India is one of the largest growers of millet. It has been consumed from a very long time in India, but the focus was not there. So I think the Sri Anna word also suits very well because it's like superiority in terms of the millet itself. It's a big superfood now. And in terms of infrastructure growth, I think giving a lot of flexibility to states to extend that benefit, because I think more people invest in creating food processing centers or food parks or investing in basically capital expenditure will lead to more job opportunities in the state. and also giving support in terms of giving lower interest in rates to the MSMEs, then will lead to more investments. So thereby, I think there is a lot of opportunity for growth in employment. Also, you will see a lot of new brands emerging because of the support given due to credit guarantees, lower interest loans, and also benefits on capital expenditure. So overall, I think it was a well-rounded budget, and also with the tax slabs being increased, to 7 lakhs now, and also up to 9 lakhs, the person will only pay up to 45,000. So I think that's a great advantage where the disposable income will increase. And I think the money will come back to the society, to the market, and the consumption will drive the economy as well.
Interesting. So it's a big thumbs up from Vikas. Let's also get in CS Sudhir, the founder of the Freedom app. And I did notice, Abhishek, I'm not sure whether you did or not, he had a big, broad and a nice smile as we were introducing him. Are you the happiest today? You actually allow users to learn finance literacy solutions to all their queries. Do you believe that the government really has given a big push when it comes to the education sector? Also a lot of digital incentive, because there is this very interesting thing that the Prime Minister also indicated about the digital public infra for agriculture. Because if that can do, Sudhir, what the UPI has done for payments, I think this is excellent.
Absolutely. I think the first thing I want to highlight here is the good about the budget. The good part of the budget is, see, now at home, if you have the head of the family who is earning for the family, if he is earning more money, obviously we consider him as doing good for the family. Second, we think about where is he investing that money? Where is he spending that money? If he is spending that money for partying, for food and like revenue expenditures, then we would not consider that. In case if he is investing that money as capital expenditure, like to buy a house or to give good education to children, obviously we would consider that as a good move. In that way, in 2013, we had about 1.5 lakh crore of capital expenditure. That has gone up to 10 lakh crore, which is like 6-7 times, which is a great move, and we applaud that. And with reference to any other activity in terms of natural farming, encouraging 1 crore farmers to venture into natural farming or to support millet, Sri Anna, these are all some really good moves, and I appreciate that. But what I'm really concerned about is the way we are thinking about the future of this country, right? So we are talking about building a track or road without vehicle, basically. So I'll tell you why I say that. So we are talking about digital India, we are talking about youth power, all that. But then how are we harnessing the youth power? See, ultimately as a country, if we have to really become a high income country, then we should not miss the demographic dividend. But I would say we are already late. We have missed the demographic dividend, and I don't think we will ever become a high income country. So if we have to really become a high income country, then we have to leverage the youth power completely. But the youth who is not trained is a liability. It's not an asset at all. So now today what's happening in our country, we are thinking, Indian economy, the $5 trillion goal or $10 trillion goal can be achieved with just, unicorns or with just MNCs or the large corporates. That's not going to happen. You need even those saloon shops, you need the provision store, you need the guy who sells fish on street, you need the guys who sell chicken, fruit shops, vegetable shops, all that. But unfortunately, these are not being taught to our youths in the schools and colleges. So what are we saying then? We are telling them, you complete your 12th, you complete your graduation, you don't get job, then we will train you for 3 months through Skill India, and then you will be able to do it. That's not the right move. NEP is a great initiative, but I feel the budget allocation to execute it, because what was required to execute NEP is not a sudden, the same incremental budget allocation. That's not going to happen. You need a completely different focus to make it happen. The way we were able to solve the COVID issues, right? When COVID happened, we were able to build an app and the infrastructure required within fortnight to make it happen. Or when GST was implemented, how did we execute it in a...
Mr. Sudhir,
similar way, the education system needs to be done. Yeah, please.
I think when COVID happened, India did come around to do a fantastic job of the vaccination program.
I appreciate that. I am saying COVID, we did a fantastic job. GST implementation, we did a fantastic job. Even digital India, digital currency, digital transaction, we did a fantastic job. But I'm concerned about the I would say the interest or the will of the government to execute NEP with the same speed. That is not being shown. That's the only concern I've got, because this is not something to blame only Modi government. This is happening for the last 75 years. We are still continuing with the British education system, and we have already done enough damage with the discrimination in terms of government school, private school, Kannada medium, Hindi medium, all that, right? That's divided this country.
Yeah.
So we need to
you see, we have seen, Mr. Sudhir, we have seen a very persuasive push coming in from the Prime Minister himself when it comes to the national education policy. I have myself, heard him speaking at least a dozen times. But, the finance minister, in fact, began her speech in the second or third sentence. She said that the per capita income now stands at about 2 lakh rupees per person, like obviously 1.97 lakh rupees. And then, this entire focus on the infrastructure push. If I could get Mr. Bhajanka of the Century Ply, so you are, Mr. Bhajanka, you would be at the intersection of so many sectors. One, of course, your core area. Then the scale you have of the industry. Then in terms of whatever dominoes your industry would have from this infrastructure push that is coming in. Urban infrastructure push, for example, the municipal bonds, and the manner in which finance minister said that they would try that all these municipal corporations, the big ones at least in the country, are solvent enough to go for their own fundraising through bonds. You think that's going to have a dominoes on your sector, your industry, your scale, and hence it's going to be a multiplier. It's going to have a multiplier effect right down to the bottom.
Yes, I think you're 100% right. At the end of it, if the economy does well, then all of us do well, right? So if you look at it, this budget, the focus on capital expenditure, that is going to lead to something where in the long term, you will see a domino effect, you will see a vicious cycle of good. You will continuously see a growth in the economy, not just this year, but next year, the year after that, whether it is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, whether it is the railway budget extension, all this capital expenditure is going to make its way into the hands of the consumers, which is going to trickle its way up across industries, across segments. So today, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, I'm very happy with it. But more importantly, as an Indian, I think it is a phenomenal push that the government is putting in. And this is something that should have happened a long time ago. But at the end of it, it is happening now. And I think we were all a little afraid that this is going to be a little more populist budget, which is going to be based on short-term consumption. The fact that that has not happened has sent absolutely the correct message that India is gearing up to a $10 trillion economy, and sooner rather than later we'll get there.
And Keshav, like you said, prudence over politics, the finance minister clearly avoiding populism, Abhishek. And this is something that, you have to agree, because she had ample space to be able to sound populist, to, do a lot of populism. But that clearly hasn't happened. There's a lot of fiscal discipline that she continues to stick by. And I see a noddy from almost all our guests on that. I want to take it back to Mr. Mahendra Shah, the chairman and the MD of VTrans Logistics. He's a man of few words, but sir, you've been relentless. Many say you're the, change leader. You push for a lot of change in your sector. Now, the finance minister, the kind of job she had, particularly at a time like this, where you're looking at, India just moving out of the pandemic. There is a war. In spite of that, the fine balancing act that you've seen the government engaging in, and the capex is going up, lot of push on infrastructure, on capital expenditure, on railways. How do you read into that? And what do you believe possibly, can be the road ahead, considering that this was the last full budget of the government before the big elections of 2024? How many marks would you give her?
Yeah, I would say that, I would say 8 out of 10 could be the right thing, because government has been right from before, even before the budget, when they announced all these policies, government was very clear that logistics plays a very important part in economy of any country. And in our country, the logistic costs are much higher than they are all over the world. So that's a given pro. The government is relentless trying to reduce those costs. Now, how can that happen? It's not the one activity that can bring them down. Of course, the diesel cost is always going to be a big challenge. But there's a lot of wastage, so government is building on infrastructure on so many counts, I mean, in this budget allocation also and before budget also, there's a lot of focus on roads, roads, better bridges and all these warehouses, there's a lot of wastage, because of lack of warehouses. All those things are, even though what I'm talking is not entirely today's budget related, but budget is also very supporting, but before that also, a lot of work has been happening. Now, coming back to this budget, we have yet to understand these 100 transport projects. We'll have to go deep dive into what they are. But I believe that, the nine-fold allocation to railways. So railways, even though it's not directly connected to road transport, but it is a logistic supporting industry. So I think benefit to railways is going to benefit the logistic. There will be less amount of pollution. The push for green hydrogen and battery manufacturing, imports of all these initiatives are really going to help. Technology, the training to investment into AI and all other technology which has been announced, that is directly benefit to, because ours is a huge manpower driven industry. So if our people are better skilled, there will be better performance and saving in the cost. So all in all, I would say,
right,
even though we may not be specific talking about logistics, but all other aspects of logistics, our industry benefit, more boost to the manufacturing segment will definitely directly save our, bring business into the kitty of logistic industry, because again, in every aspect, logistic is connected. Any manufacturing,
Also, Mr. Shah, the government has shown a certain smarts. For example, I was looking at this, and let me take this to Vikas Nahar, as an entrepreneur. For example, the government or the finance minister made importing of electric vehicles costly, but manufacturing of EVs within India cheaper, enabling local manufacturing of electric vehicles. So you think this kind of import substitution and focus on importing things which are needed to make ourselves stronger here, and then exporting stuff on which we are stronger, you see that thread in your sector as well, or anything else which you think perhaps could have been done now that the government was so comfortable doing all that it has done in this budget?
No, I think if we talk about the electric vehicles itself, I think overall, if you see with the more duties imparted on the imports of vehicles, the focus will shift towards manufacturing it locally. So the local domestic manufacturers will get that additional benefit to promote the project totally. And also, when you talk about in food sector, today a lot of import does happen in terms of food and agri commodities. But the government initiative where they're providing a lot of support, setting up agricultural, accelerator funds, encouraging innovative startups in the rural areas. They're setting up, storage capacities, where farmers can actually hold the produce for a longer period of time. Because today the biggest problem for a farmer is he doesn't get the right money for his produce, because there is a shelf life for every product what he grows, and there is not enough storage facilities. And also it is not available, it's not accessible to them. So I think by all this, I think by building digital, infrastructure, public infrastructure, which is very inclusive and accessible, and which is very informative for all the farmers, will actually play a very key role in reducing our dependency towards, imports. And also when we start producing more, I think the exports will definitely start growing, and that will also help us, improve our forex reserves. that's when actually the Amrit Kal will truly come, when we are exporting more and importing less, thereby improving our cash reserves. I think it's a golden opportunity for India. A lot of people say that decade belongs to India. I believe that the century itself belongs to India. And the kind of progress what we have done in the last maybe 10 years, the kind of infrastructural growth and the kind of capital expenditure now we are focusing on, I think this decade definitely belongs to India.
All right, I think that's a good note to end this conversation on, only for war of time, gentlemen, but it's been a fantastic conversation with all of you. I thank Vikas, Keshav, Mahendra Shah ji, and CS Sudhir. Keep up the good work that all of you guys are doing. I think this is the age, like, Nirmala Sitharaman has been saying, India is the bright spot right now in an otherwise gloomy scale. There are opportunities for citizens with focus on the youth. The focus is on growth and job creation, Abhishek, and much like strong and stable macroeconomic environment. I thank all of you for your time, your wisdom. We quickly are heading into a break right now.
11,000 placements